Totally Creative on YouTube, and I have a DIY Dollar Tree project for you. I'm using these plain wood boxes from Dollar Tree, and you can paint this any color. That's why I love the plain wood. So we're going to make our own DIY Rolodex. Or if you're a crafter, you've heard of the Memorydex, and so we can fit standard size Memorydex cards in this DIY Rolodex that we're going to make. And I love that it's the plain wood because we can paint it to match our decor. So you can go with white, you can do farmhouse. I've got lots of ideas on how we can dress this up. So I did a coat, on this one I did a coat of gesso and a coat of white craft paint, and it covered really well. So let's get started. Okay guys, so we'll need to gather a few supplies for this DIY Dollar Tree project. We're going to need our wood box, our unfinished wood box from Dollar Tree. We're going to need some basic craft paint. I'm using Apple Barrel White, and we're going to need some gesso, paint brushes, some kind of sanding device. I've got the Tim Holtz sander because it's easy and has a fine grit, a tack cloth, and if you have them, painting pyramids. These are cabinet makers use these to keep their stained and painted projects off of the surface. So we'll use that to kind of keep, let it dry. So what I do first is I sand it down, because if you feel these are kind of rough and you could get a splinter. So I just kind of lightly sand. Here, let me move my Memorydex cards because I don't want to get them all sandy. So you can see the difference in the, well, I have these two here. So here's the one that's been gessoed and painted with a one coat of paint, and here's the natural wood. So of course you could leave this or stain it or whatever you desire. So there's the white one, but what we're going to do now is sand the edges. So I'm simply running my hand over after I sand a little bit to make sure that there's no splinters that come off. And we're going to sand with the grain, and we're going to use good carpentry technique in that we're going to sand this just so the paint goes on smoother, and then we're using the tack cloth right now. So the tack cloth has two purposes. It removes the sanding dust, and also if it snags on any edges like this one does, then you know that you need to go back and sand again. So I'm using a fine grit sandpaper from Tim Holtz, which is a crafting grade. But if you have some in your garage, then use that. So now I'm going to use my gesso, any gesso you have on hand. I'm just adding one coat of gesso, just so that the thinner craft paint will cover. If you see how those little kind of globs, if you get any globs, I just go backwards with a paintbrush and wipe them off on a paper towel. So we're going to use our painting pyramids just to keep this box off of a little wood box off of the craft mat, so that I'll have to less clean up. So I paint the gesso on as you would a stain and just go with the grain. Just like I've done a lot of DIYs, I built my own craft table, so this is a lot easier project than that. Okay, so now that we have our gesso and our white paint coated on here, what I did was I cut a piece of craft foam to the same width as the dowel. So all I did was measure the dowel and draw a pencil line along the edge of it so that my little foam piece would be, this is the craft foam, so I'm just going to stack the two pieces of craft foam. And that way I will have a little ledge for this to sit on. Now I could just trim this to the width and stack a little, but I feel like that might fall over. So I think I'll do what Dearly Dee, I'll link her. Also, she has a Memorydex Box tutorial, so I will link hers below, because that's where I learned how to make the runners. So I will link her video because that was the inspiration for me to try to find something that I could make a dupe Memorydex box. So in this case, I'm going to put the 2 pieces of foam and just stack them so that the dowel has something to sit up on. And I'll show you guys. Here's one of the Memorydex cards I made. And it's just right. There you go, see? Now that means that you could make this dowel any color that you want. So I might go with rose gold. So I changed my mind and I'm not going to use the rose gold, but I did measure. I'm using this T-square. I made a mark on this ruler. You can see there's a tiny black mark, and I'm going to add that black mark to the wooden dowel. I believe this dowel is a 3/8 inch, but don't quote me on that. I just grabbed the smallest one they had at Michael's. And they weren't exactly labeled very, I mean, you know, the tiny dowels get moved around, so I'm guessing this is about a 3/8 inch dowel. So I cut that with a simple craft knife, and all I'm going to do is use the Memorydex card to measure. That way I don't have to make any marks on the craft foam. I'm just going to use the card to decide where to place the runners. I have a package of that Maggie Holmes washi tape because there's 3 metallics in that, and I really like those. I think I'm going to go with the gold. So here you see my first try. I was seeing if you could add the craft foam this way, but the dowel tends to just kind of fall over, so I didn't decide to do it that way. I will do it the way that Dee had in her video. So I'm just using the craft knife again to cut this craft foam, and it's very easy to cut. I'm just cutting it to the width of the box, so the foam will be, I'm thinking there's a sticker on this I need to peel off, but there's no sticker. This is not a pre-adhesive. So I'm going to use the Sticky Thumb Express glue because it's really quickly it's really fast grab. So I just laid a little bit of it along the very edge and then lay my craft foam runner riser on here. So I'm just kind of holding it down until it grabs, and then I'm going to do the next layer of foam, cutting it with my craft knife and still using the Sticky Thumb adhesive to adhere it to the previous craft foam layer. I'm using the craft foam because it's white and I don't have to worry about painting it. It just kind of blends in with the box and you don't see it once you get your Memorydex cards in there. So make sure those 2 layers are dry, and then what I'll do is use the cutoff portion to measure the next 2 craft foam strips. So just laying a thin bead of that express glue from Sticky Thumb and American Crafts, laying down the first piece of craft foam, and then once that grabs, I'll lay down the second one. So we're really almost done. This is a very quick project. And the thing I love about this is you could do it for your style. So if you're more modern, you'll like this one, which has like a clean white and then the gold runners. Here you can see I finished one of the runners, and the washi tape fits around the top 3 sides of the runner, and I'm just using the grid on my craft mat. Here I'm showing you close up how that looks once you get it glued down and the washi tape adhered to the dowel. Now stay tuned because I'm going to be having some ideas of what to do with your Memorydex Dupe dollar store DIY projects, and we're also going to have a couple different styles. So I'm using glossy accents because I know it's a really sturdy glue, and I'm just keeping the Memorydex card in there and then placing the dowel through the hole so that I know that it fits. Then I'm going to have to add glossy accents to the second side there, and I'll just, like I said, keep that Memorydex card in there just so I know that it's the right proportion and it's the right measurement. So I'll slide that over so that the Memorydex card is straight, and you can see that It's all lined up. So I really like how this one looks. It's a clean kind of farmhouse white. It's not distressed, but I do have some more ideas. So like I said, stay tuned. Thanks so much for joining me for this dollar store DIY. I'd love it if you'd like and subscribe. And I am so thankful to have you joining me on my channel. And click the bell to be notified when I upload a new video. Thanks for joining me. Bye.